5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dhamaka! That's a scene from, not really a scene, but a callback to Andaz Apna Apna, which is a cult comedy movie. It has Amir Khan and Salman Khan for probably the first and only pairing in their lives, or in their careers, I should say. And you should definitely check it out if you haven't watched it, because it's old school, but Govinda and Juhi Chawla have a cameo in the first scene itself. And so the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing that I was doing was by the pairing of Bhalla and Robert, and they make a plan to get rid of the heroes, and it backfires spectacularly and blows off the backs of their clothes. But there is a countdown happening. In 5 days, the Super Tech Twin Towers are going to go down in Noida, and the demolition is something that is rare in India, as I've said in one of my previous videos. But alright, so what I wanted to talk about was the upcoming Rings of Power series on Amazon Prime. It's going to be out on the 2nd of September. So that's going to be awesomax. And let's see how they've depicted Middle Earth. So high fantasy genre is something that has come up in the last decade or so, or maybe in the last 2 decades, because of the success of the Lord of the Rings movies by Peter Jackson, and spectacularly done. And of course, aficionados of Tolkien will always find fault with depictions on the silver screen especially. But yeah, I guess they did a good job of generating interest in audiences, and the latest result of that is going to be the Rings of Power, also House of the Dragon. So I'll talk about that in just half a minute. Alright, so I watched the first episode of House of the Dragon. Obviously it has that Game of Thrones vibe, gratuitous in all aspects, politics, adult scenes, language, everything. So it wasn't really reinventing the wheel or taking a new approach to high fantasy. Neither is the Rings of Power going to be doing that. Alright, let me hydrate and switch locations to my usual recording spot. Okay, but what I'm looking forward to, excuse me, is how they are going to portray the battle between good versus evil. What happens is, in the Lord of the Rings, it's pretty clear cut from the first chapter itself. All right, the long expected party, which is kind of a counter play on the Hobbit's first chapter, An Unexpected Party, in which the dwarves land up at Bilbo's place and sweep him along in an adventure there and back again. Lord of the Rings fans, as I'm pretty sure many of you are, if you're watching this, will know what I'm talking about. So reading the books is the first step, I would say, towards understanding the mythos that Tolkien built. And he was a linguist. Okay, so being a linguist sort of made his perspective different from his contemporaries, the C.S. Lewis and all, because when you're developing a language, you can portray it as something that has developed over centuries. And of course the ages that Tolkien describes in his works are the things that are the eons that set certain events apart and certain sequences of events apart. So Beren and Luthien, Huor, Tuor, Hurin, Turin, lots of lore. So in this, the Rings of Power, I guess they are going to be depicting the fall of Sauron, who was one of the lesser gods in the first age, as Tolkien put it. So it's not really a mystery, but like I said, what I'm looking forward to is how they're going to depict the battle between good and evil, because Sauron was someone who was good in the beginning. Sorry, it's pretty humid. But he turned evil, and I guess everybody will have their own opinion, including yours truly. Akshat, by the way, thank you so much for tuning into my vlog. So everybody is going to have their own opinion, their own hot take on the Rings of Power. But if you like high fantasy, in fact, if you're looking for something better at a deeper level, at a higher level than Game of Thrones, you should definitely delve into Tolkien's mythos, and not just the visual media. His books, his entire history of Middle Earth is one, very imaginative, and two, instructive, informative, because the characters and the grand schemes that are going on at large, you can somehow relate to them, or you can find ways to relate them to the current world, our reality. That also reminds me, The Matrix was coming up on the Twitter feed for some reason. The fourth one didn't rock my Matrix, but yeah, it had a decent worldview. Okay, so that said, I'm gonna call this to a close, head back upstairs to work, and thank you so much once again. Namaste, I'm Akshat, and make sure you tap that subscribe button for awesomax fun.